My brother Nishki once told me that 10 years in the joint made me a
fucking pussy.
But what if he was wrong? What if instead 10 years in the joint made me a public servant? Whilst I may seem like just a seriously sexy, ruthless, big shot Yakuza, I'll have you know that I actually have a heart of absolute gold, as I help the inferior weakling creatures of Kamurocho. My public service began with me giving a helping hand to a fellow bro in need. He wants me to go to a random woman on the street, call her very sexy, and give her some money. Very unusual, but sounds like a piece of cake, right guys? Except after saying this, she gives me a bag and calls me a pervert. I should have known. Nice guys always finish last. It can't be. A woman just rejected my advances. Where's the part where her clothes immediately fall on the floor and she's deeply in love with me? I refuse to believe that a majestic man like me could be humiliated in such a way. So I checked the bag for any strange things inside, and lo and behold, it contains used panties. I returned the bag to the man, who clearly was too embarrassed to go himself, and to protect his dirty secret, he gives me hush money. 50,000 yen is crazy. All he had to do was let me get a good sniff of the merchandise. That would have been more than enough compensation. But I'm not complaining, because now I had some cash to splash, which I invested in a personal slave. But we refer to him as our Yakuza apprentice in public settings. You know, can't be risking any damage to our brand image. I took my good little boy on a trip around town, trying to teach him the ways of a true Yakuza, but he thinks he knows it all and has already forgotten his inferior role as an apprentice. He calls dibs on a bar that we can supposedly extort for some protection money. Yeah, seems like a simple job. What could go wrong, you may ask? Well, everything. As it turns out, this bar is already getting milked dry by some local Yakuza family, forcefully selling them towels? Interesting business diversification strategy, I guess. One which I had to put to sleep quickly, as I didn't like this guy's attitude. Lesson of the day, Mr. Apprentice. You in fact cannot just claim dibs in a bar like it's some child's game, or the front seat of your mate's car in a Yakuza infested town. Days later, it seemed like he'd finally been taking my lessons on board, as he's got himself a hot sugar mummy now. Surely by applying my mythical Riz methods. Bro can sit back, relax, and never have a financial worry in life again with a wife that he can scrounge off. Some may say he's achieved infinite wealth. What could possibly go wrong this time? He's reached the pinnacle of Yakuza life. Well, everything. Because it turns out that our apprentice here has fallen for the oldest trick in the book, as his supposed love of his life is in fact the mistress of a Yakuza. And guess what? They want their money back. Only 4 million yen without interest. How generous of them. Of course I've got to bail this plonker out again with my fists, and then he just laughs it off and goes off to seek a new venture, which we'll see later, and I'm sure will be so lucrative. Man, helping people and managing an apprentice is hard work, guys, and I deserve a break from that moron, as it's guaranteed that we'll cross paths again. So when this stunning woman offered her body to me, the horny demon inside of me jumped with joy, as I found a way to release my load of stress, of course. I let her lead the way as I followed in excitement, finally about to get some action, until Manny. Girls aren't supposed to have that hanging down there. Out came her apprentice, and suddenly it became apparent that now I was the one falling for the oldest tricks in the book. Clearly, my apprentice's stupidity has rubbed off on me, but as you can see, I simply did not let this slide. However, it turns out that these guys are siblings, and the guy I just brutally beat up is a girl, and of course, we've already got first-hand experience with the other one to know the truth about them too. Hey, it's 2025, I ain't got no problem with their gender shenanigans, but you know, equal rights means equal fights, and in the end, I thankfully got my wallet back. The two scamming siblings ran off in absolute tears, and I pledged to never be so gullible again. So then I ran off with my wallet and gave these totally legitimate businessmen 100,000 yen for a stone that can tell the future. Bruh. What? It doesn't work? I really don't know why scamming is such a reoccurring theme around this town, and it doesn't help that my apprentice's gullibility has transferred over to me. So to free myself from the curse of my apprentice, I decided to help more of the people of Kamurocho, with hopes that it would cleanse my soul. Starting with this elderly cafe owner who's got a problem with vandalism. Usually at this point I'd resort to my favourite hobby of extorting businesses for protection money, but I'm feeling nice today. So he asks me to keep watch for the delinquent responsible, which I do free of charge, and I caught him dead in the act, but the guy has the audacity to deny it. Must have been the wind, I guess. I managed to track him down, and it's a miracle I did, because he was hidden so well and accompanied with some Yakuza friends. And after beating them down, I found out that the delinquent is the son of the cafe owner, who's grown tired of his old man pushing him to take over the family business instead of pursuing his own goals. So I gave him a little pep talk, and once I returned to the cafe, it seemed that the boy had confessed to his father and they'd hashed things out. However, I felt his son was getting off a little too easy here, so I let father in on some secret disciplinary methods for naughty children, and in exchange he gave me 50,000 yen. Poor kid doesn't realise the world of pain he's in for once he receives a tiger drop to the chest. And don't bother fighting back, because after all, it negates all damage. This technique would certainly be of use if, like, I don't know, your town got infested by zombies or something, but yeah, that would be ridiculous. Except maybe not, as my friend Majima here is a freaking zombie, and I get a call from the Majima family telling me there's an outbreak and that I should run while I still can. Well, in a situation like this, I guess the average Joe would either A, run away, B, cower in fear like a little bitch, or C, call the police. But do I look like an average Joe? Hell nah! Option D, punch my way through every zombie in sight and save the citizens of Kamurocho. That's right, no silly guns and headshots, just straight hands. Man, the things I do to serve the people of this town. Build me my statue already. It was a lot of effort, and I risked my life being in such close quarters with zombies. But eventually, I took down all the zombies, single-handedly preventing a national zombie outbreak. But something felt off about the whole situation, with Majima rising from the dead suddenly looking smugger than ever, and that's when the realization set in. I'd been made an absolute fool, still as gullible as ever. I blame that stupid apprentice of mine. Turns out this whole thing was a big old prank. Yeah, tell that to the clan members with broken bottles in their guts and permanent brain damage. Honestly, I must applaud Majima for his efforts here, gathering and paying actors, training and rehearsals, hiring and scheduling makeup artists. Oh, and let's not forget the extensive medical costs. This guy must be minted. All of this was just to get a good fight out of me, and I'm not sure what's funnier, the fact that he went to these lengths, or the fact that I actually fell for this. I'll let you guys decide that in the comments. Anyway, I want my service to the people of this town to be real and meaningful, and what better way is there to ensure that than saving a damsel in distress from a harassing drunkard man? Surprisingly, I didn't even need to use my fists, as my sheer aura scared him away. As a way of thanks, she offered to take me to the bar. However, I declined as I had developed trust issues due to certain experiences with women in the past. But oh my goodness, those big, juicy, voluptuous... how could I resist such a woman? Forget the past, I ain't missing out on such an opportunity. We sat down at the bar and talked a bit, and I just couldn't take my eyes off those big, voluptuous eyes. Yeah, they're so perfect, and the horny demon inside of me is jumping with joy. I'd happily reduce myself to a good submissive boy for a few hours, so when she told me to drink up my drink, I went to do so without hesitation. But wait.
I played these games before!
This exact feeling mirrored the last time I got duped by a woman. Resisting the urge with all my might, I turned down the drink, as I don't think it's supposed to be fizzing like that, darling. Unk really thought I'd fall for such an old-fashioned con. That's right, gullible Kiryu is no more, and in the end I taught these scamming fools a lesson. All of this effort. I guess that's the price of an F-cut. And this situation got me really contemplating the state of this town. Are all the women just scamming scum, unworthy of my help? I've been falsely accused of touching inappropriately by a woman, had my drink spiked by a woman, and even been mugged by a woman. Juice WRLD was right. All girls really are the same. And so as a last ditch attempt to find the one, I headed to the West Park, because the abandoned park filled to the brim with degenerate homeless guys who will attack people unprovoked and point guns at you for simply entering the toilet is surely the best place to look, right? Apparently so, as I came across this interviewer who glazed me to the max, referring to me as the very definition of a bad boy. I wish you could tell me something I don't already know, lady. But I agreed to help and participate in her interview that would help her determine the bad boys of Kamurocho. Her first question is, what's my #1 priority these days? And of course I say my Puki Majima, as he's always trying to kill me, just for a fun little joke. He puts so much effort into our relationship with clear dedication, as he constantly adapts himself to my many needs to get the best out of me. But unfortunately, the interviewer doesn't quite understand our complex relationship, so the interview isn't off to the greatest start. Now we've got some competition for the bad boy title as a florist pulls up wanting in on the fun, and he tells us his bad boy story about him leaking the dirty laundry of the thug trying to rob him, as he specializes in perving on the citizens of Kamurocho with definitely illegal cameras on a mass scale. God forbid a guy with a little freak side to him can't even beat your meat in Kamurocho without the florist watching each individual stroke on his camera. What a twisted guy, and yet somehow he qualifies for bad boy status, and now I need to one up his overrated story. I could have told her about the rampage I went on at a funeral once, but she'd probably call it disrespectful, when all I see it as is bringing a little flair to an otherwise morbid occasion. Instead, I opted to tell her the most iconic story in history of me spending 10 years in a joint. Come on, it doesn't get more badass than that, as long as I keep out the fact that
10 years in the joint made you a fucking pussy.
surprisingly, once again, I failed to achieve true bad boy status in the eyes of the interviewer as she looks at me in disgust. I guess that story was just too cool for her. But now I've got even more competition as Date-san joins in, and now it's a battle between us for the status of ultimate bad boy. When asked what's the most important thing for being a badass dad, the florist gives a mundane, boring answer of financial power, and Date-san is on some lovey-dovey crap about family being what matters most. For my answer, I basically described myself. Being an unconventional, sexy, stylish man is what puts me well above the rest of the lesser beings. That's what's most important. And these wrinkled up has-beens simply can't compete. Which is why, in the end, I was awarded the title of the ultimate bad boy. I guess not all women are bad after all. Now, with such a title to my name, I was feeling like my old self again, renewed, recharged, refocused, like a dragon. So maybe now I could check in on my Yakuza apprentice without the thought of taking my own life constantly being at the back of my mind. Never mind, scrap that, as it seems this guy has reached new lows. His next lucrative scheme with massive potential is debt collection, starting by jumping a defenseless woman. Well, we all know this is gonna go wrong, but I decided to help anyway, purely for the love of the game. Eventually I managed to catch up to her, but surprise surprise, when push comes to shove, my apprentice is nowhere to be found, leaving me to do his dirty work. And then he proceeds to take half of the cut. Reminds me of a certain someone. I was seriously on my last straw with this kid, so when he told me that he had an upcoming promotion to lieutenant, it was music to my ears as he'd finally be out of my hair once and for all. What could possibly go wrong? Oh well, it turns out that this supposed big job was a hit, but he doesn't have the balls to kill someone, so of course I'm the one who must bail him out again. We met up with his boss, who somehow knew my name, and then the reality set in. I was the hit target, and I'd been betrayed by my own student. After all I'd done, this is how I'm paid back. These useless fools couldn't batter a fish, so fighting wasn't what hurt most. It was the stabbing in the back by my own apprentice. In the end, I did give him the benefit of the doubt, as he was threatened with death if he didn't do what they told him, and I wouldn't expect anything but obedience from a pussy like him. But at the end of the day, despite his faults, I love my apprentice. So, I showed him mercy and let him live, setting him free so that he could turn a new leaf and start a fresh life. I guess it was fun having you along the journey, my minion. Maybe you didn't do so well, but still, I won't forget you for as long as I live. Thank you to everyone who watched this video, and if you enjoyed it, consider subscribing, leaving a like and commenting. Your boy is finally free from the shackles of college and A-level exams, with lots of freedom ahead, so to all my current and new subscribers, stay tuned for more videos, and I'll see you in the next one.